It's a great concerto. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Temecula City Council meeting. Today's March the 10th. Prelude music, which was fantastic, done by Michael May. Michael, where are you? Everybody turn around, give him a shout out. All right. It's always good, at least in my opinion, before we start the government's business, to start with a little bit of an invocation. And to that end, we invite Reverend Dr. Jeff Seville. Reverend, why don't you come on forward? I'm going to ask everybody to stand, and afterwards remain standing. My esteemed colleague, Ms. Marianne Edwards, is going to lead us in the flag salute. Reverend.
Thank you. Before I pray, I'd like to thank the City Council for inviting me to offer this invocation, particularly Councilmember Marianne Edwards. I know many join me in gratitude for our First Amendment right to exercise religion freely in the public and private sector. That freedom has been preserved for 239 years by the dedicated and sacrificial service of military members who have fought to defend it, even today, by governmental leaders and judges at all levels who rightly discern our founders' intent in the Constitution and aren't intimidated by the bravado and legal threats of those who would limit our freedom, and by conscientious citizens who hold leaders accountable to the law. We are indebted to all of those who labor to preserve our freedoms, including the right to pray in the public arena, as our conscience dictates. You have asked me to pray an invocation this evening, and it is an honor to pray in these chambers for our city and for you, its leaders. Thank you again for the invitation. Let us pray. Glorious God and Father of us all, as our City Council meets tonight to deliberate on the official business and activities of our beloved home, the City of Temecula, we ask your blessing upon Mayor Jeff Comerchero and each of our City Council members, the Honorable Marianne Edwards, Michael Nagar, and Matt Ron. The Bible says in James chapter 1, verse 5, if any of you lacks wisdom, you should ask God, who gives generously to all without finding fault, and it will be given to you. We believe our Temecula voters have elected highly qualified leaders, but no one can have too much wisdom. And so we ask that these elected leaders and all our other public servants here in Temecula who labor behind the scenes be granted your wisdom to support the city with its policies and practices that promote prosperity of our local businesses, that enhance the safety and enjoyment of our city by all who live here and visit, and engender neighborliness among our residents and with our partner cities here in the Temecula Valley. Lord, we are grateful for the unique makeup and friendliness of our city with its many small business owners, thousands of military service members and their families, law enforcement personnel and families, along with school teachers, kids, retirees, and many others, people of every ethnicity and heritage, people of many faiths and none, people who work together to make Temecula a great place to live, work, play, worship, and serve. Lord, just as the name Temecula means where the sun breaks through the mist, may your blessings shine down upon our city anew each morning. May we in turn honor you by the way we serve you, our city, our nation, and each other, remembering with compassion the poor and disadvantaged, the lonely and the hungry, all those who need hope and the helping hand your blessing allows us and commands us to extend. We pray in your righteous and holy name. Amen.
Amen.
Would you please join me in our flag salute? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
God bless you. You can be seated. Madam City Clerk, can you give us the roll call?
Absolutely. Councilmember Edwards?
Here.
Councilmember Nagar?
Here.
Councilmember Ron?
Here.
Mayor Comachero is absent.
All right. Well, we have a quorum such as it is. Did you want to say something, Mr. City Attorney?
Just as you rightly noted, we have neither the mayor nor the mayor pro tem with Mayor Comachero in China and former council member Washington on the Board of Supervisors. Although it's happened rarely, the precedent in Temecula is for the senior council member to preside over the meeting. So
You mean the oldest?
the oldest in terms
That would
of
be me. No, he means
in terms of tenure on the city council.
in your,
We can go many ways. We can go age, we can go tenure, we can go hair follicles, or the lack thereof. Okay,
that's what I said it
that's
was.
what you said. Okay,
It's a
but
hair.
but we have our quorum?
Yes,
and
you have
it's
a
my
quorum.
honor and pleasure to run the meeting tonight. Before I get started, where are my Pumas out there? Pumas.
Oh, there's a lot.
All right, Golden Bears? Oh, the Golden Bears are holding down the house. Wolfpack? Oh. Okay, all right, we got, okay. And I think that's it. Am I missing anybody? Linfield Lions? No, nobody here. Okay, good. So looks like the Golden Bears are holding down the house. All right.
Go Bears.
All right. Well, we only have one presentation tonight, and it's really an honor to introduce this young lady who I think is an extraordinary young lady. Her name is Miss Sydney Edmond, and she's a Facebook friend of mine, and I'm very, very proud of her because she was showing off some of her paintings that she has a talent to do. And I asked Miss Edmond if she would grace City Hall with doing a painting, as many local artists have done. If you've gone through the halls of City Hall, you see that we have a lot of local artists have donated paintings to the city, and you see them in the hallways, you see them in the foyer. And I asked her to do that, and she said she would be happy to. Sydney is a local hero because I'll let her mother explain a little bit more, and I'll let Sydney explain a little bit more, but she's has to communicate through a, how would you term the device? What's it called? Through a communication device. And yet at the same time, she communicates quite well, but I think she communicates dramatically through her artwork. So first, how would you like to do it, Mom? Would you like to have Sydney come up and say a few words? Would you like to unveil the painting first? What's your pleasure? What's your and Sydney's pleasure?
She wants to do the painting first.
Okay, so Miss Sydney Edmond, if you can go ahead and come on up and bring your painting. And Miss Edwards, would you be kind enough to go down and help them unveil it and put it in a manner where the audience can see it, we can see it, and also those at home can see it? Now, Mom, how long did it take Sydney? I would ask Sydney this, but then she'd have to type her response, and that's a little bit of a pressure for her. How long did it take her to paint this? About a couple of months. Sydney, would you like to stand up with your painting? Sydney, come on up and unveil your painting with your mom.
I'd like to do this, Mr. Mayor.
Whichever way you like. You're like an expert at it. Show it to the public. The cameras will get on it.
See, I want to, so he can get it from the front, and then I want to tilt it, so. Isn't that beautiful?
I'd like to hear from you and Sydney.
Here, Mom.
Come on over here to the mic at the podium.
Sydney wrote a little something.
I would like to hear it. And go ahead and move into the microphone there at the podium and bring Sydney with you.
Okay. Did you want me to play her speech first?
Whatever you would like to do. You can play the speech and then you can speak, however you feel comfortable.
And this is turned on? Hello? Hello? Okay, all righty.
Hello, Mayor and City Council members. I am so pleased to be here tonight to present my painting to the city of Temecula. I have named it A Tuesday at the Lake. It was inspired by the beautiful remote control sailboats that are brought to Harveston Lake every Tuesday afternoon by a group of gentlemen in silver-toned hair. Their quiet, graceful appearance is restful and lovely. I am always so pleased when Tuesday comes to call. Thank you, Councilman Naga, for commissioning artistic expression from a member of the autism community. I am a member of all communities, but quietly wait for recognition from wider society. My painting represents us all. In waters of society, we, like sailboats, quietly pass by with fierce determination to stay afloat, to move our lives forward. In waters of the world, silent and strange, wayward, floating people struggle to keep on course. Winds, unwanted, may batter. Sails wallow in woe. As directions taken, open them up to shame. Presently, light winds will stir, answering their wishes. Directions wayward, over. They all in their beauty. There are hidden talents in all of us, with and without autism, but unless they are given an opportunity to shine, they will wither inside us. I want everyone to have the opportunity to explore their interests like I have. It seems terribly important to me to access our strengths and talents in order to live a full life and a happy one. I want to thank you, therefore, for acknowledging my efforts and welcoming me to your world. Thank you.
Wow, that was. She's a poet, too. She's a poet.
Yeah.
She's a poet, Mom. Mike, she's a poet, too.
Come on back, Sydney and Mom. That's quite articulate. Mom, did you have something you wanted to say? No? And I don't know if my colleagues have anything to say. Councilmember Roth, did you want to say anything?
Yeah, absolutely. Just astonishing. The artwork is absolutely amazing. I'd like to make sure, City Manager, that we find an important spot within City Hall to display that. Thank you.
Councilmember Edwards, did you want to say anything? No? Sydney, I want to tell you something. First of all, you have a great deal of beauty inside of you. And I want to thank you for sharing that with everybody. And you're quite the poet, too. Perhaps we can get a transcript of what she wrote. Maybe that can accompany the painting and maybe go on a plaque next to it. Mr. City Manager, could you make that possible? Because there's a message in what Sydney shared with us, and we're just so very blessed that you did this for us. You're very, very welcome. Sydney, you're a local hero. God bless you, sweetheart. You're very welcome.
We will put it next to the painting because it's very moving.
We'll find an esteemed place to hang that painting. Okay. Hey, Sydney. High five. Mom?
She has copies of the words.
If you can. Sydney, high five. Yeah. You're awesome. Okay. All right. At this portion, we're at this time, let's see, where are we at? We're going to move to the public comment portion of our meeting. Madam City Clerk, do we have public comments?
We do, sir. We have 3.
We have 3. So I'm going to go ahead and read the rules. Young folks, there's rules that we have to follow, and since we have public comments, I read the rules so everybody knows what they are. A total of 30 minutes is provided so members of the public may address the City Council on items that appear within the consent calendar or matter not listed on the agenda. Each speaker is limited to 3 minutes. If the speaker chooses to address the City Council on an item listed on the consent calendar or a matter not listed on the agenda, a request to speak form must be filled out and filed with the city clerk prior to the City Council addressing public comments and the consent calendar. Once the speaker is called to speak, please rush forward. No, you can just walk forward, state your name for the record. Can you call the first speaker, please? Oh, Madam City Clerk. There you go.
Mr. Mayor, the first speaker is Vicki Long, to be followed by Carrie Chubb.
Got it. Ms. Long, good evening to you.
Well, good evening. That's a little bit of a hard act to follow. That was beautiful. You guys get so many talented people in Temecula. What a nice city. Well, I'm here to talk about mountain lions tonight, and it's not as happy as it was the last time I was here. But I think that, and I have to tell you that I usually tell people if they really don't want to see a mountain lion, go to the mall. So it used to be funny, but now it's not so funny anymore. But I think it points out a real issue that we need to deal with. And I know that we talked about it a lot during the gravel pit argument, and that corridor is not functioning. We have multiple streams that run sort of into the mall, and I think we really need to make an effort, and I'm hoping the City Council will work to try to get a bridge and some tunnels that can work as a real corridor. And then we need some wildlife fencing. It's going to be a big effort. But I think we're going to have this continue to happen as dispersing animals start trying to find their way across the freeway and get lost. So I'm going to try to work with Fish and Game to come up with some better protocol, maybe some better training. But anyway, I would hope that you guys would be on board with trying to help with the corridor. And I know it's in the county, so I'm already talking to the county. So, but it's going to take a joint effort and a lot of support. So anyway, that's what I'm here to talk about, as usual, about my cat. So, and I was there that night. I wish I would have found him first. I was there at 9 o'clock at night. So went out to dinner. So I wish I would have found him. But anyway, so let's move onward and try to get that corridor going. And maybe it's conditioning properties when they're building to do the wildlife fencing to kind of get them to go to the right area so they can't just come through the city where they want to or really don't want to but get lost. Okay, well, thank you very much.
Vicki, thank you. Thank you for coming, and I think that's important to all of us, and we actually are looking at what you suggested. So rest assured there, nobody wants to see that happen. In fact, we got to find out how it happened, how a mountain lion wandered to the mall. How did it get there? What route did it take? Did it cross the freeway? Did it come from the east? I mean, we need to answer those questions, not only for public safety, but also for preservation of the animal itself. So thank you for bringing it up.
If you have time, I can show you some of the ways he could have gotten here.
Very good. You know what, we prior to this happening, we've been very much engaged in it anyway. Ironically, we're actually working on it, and Councilmember Ron is also engaged in helping as it relates to a project that's coming forward right across the street in Old Town, where there's a corridor, and we were focusing there, but I'm perplexed how a mountain lion got to the mall. But anyway, let staff know what you know. We can use the information. Thank you very much. Next speaker, please.
The next speaker is Carrie Chubb, to be followed by Cecily Nelson.
Ms. Chubb, good evening.
My name is Carrie Chubb. I'm the HOA president at Temecula Lane. Temecula Lane is located across from Earl Stanley Gardner Middle School, next to Loma Linda and Temecula Lane in our park. Behind our community, we have an estuary that unfortunately a large population of homeless personnel have moved into. They've set up an entire tent city back there, and the area is also a protected wetlands. We need your help in helping these people move along. They're affecting the quality of our lives. They jump our fence. Our homeowners are having to ask them to leave their backyards, which is kind of scary. It's scary to approach somebody who's climbed your fence and is sitting in your backyard. It's not a comfortable situation. I am not here to pretend that this is an easy solution. Our city is growing, but I am at a loss of what to do. And so I need the city's help with this. And also, hand in hand with the increased homeless population, we are seeing an increase in drug sales of our youth. They sit at the same park that the homeless are at, and they're openly selling marijuana. If you work with the vice principals and whatnot at our schools, I think you'll hear the same thing from the principals. As a parent and a citizen, I'm not sure what to do, and I really need your help.
Well, thank you for bringing that to our attention. Mr. City Manager, I think you can get the requisite information from Ms. Chubb and make sure that the police contact her, and you know how to take care of this.
Yeah, we'll follow up, and the chief of police is in the back, and the encampments are not allowed in those flood detention channels, and we can look into that and figure out how to get that cleaned up as soon as possible.
Thank you. We actually have a quite active program that was championed primarily by my colleague, Ms. Edwards here, that does not allow, how would you call it, purposeful homelessness. You can't camp on public property, but if you want a place to stay and you need food, we have the resources to do it. But if you're homeless by desire, you can't do it on public property or private property. That's just not allowed. So that's public property there, and between the city manager and the police chief, they'll get the information. We'll take care of it.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Next speaker, please.
Next speaker is Cecily Nelson, to be followed by Marie Haita.
Nelson, good evening to you.
Hi, good evening. Good evening, Senior Council Member Nagar and council members, staff, and fellow residents. For the viewing audience and for those who don't know, my name is Cecily Nelson. I'm a realtor with Century 21 Award, former board secretary with the Wolf Creek Maintenance Corporation, HOA, and currently serving as a commissioner on the Temecula Community Services Commission. It is in that capacity that I am addressing you this evening with an idea that I wanted to bring to your attention. The working title, well, first let me back up. I think it would be something that suits well our kindness initiative for the city of Temecula. The working title is Community Citations for Good, and the basic concept is equipping our police officers and public safety personnel with coupons or discount tickets from merchants around our city, whether it be from stores at our mall or service providers such as Big O Tires or restaurants, where if a officer sees something happening good, whether it's someone, driving defensively or responsibly, or coming to the aid of a neighbor, or a student helping a fellow student, that they have the opportunity to ticket them, quote unquote, with something that is a reward, if you will. I brought the idea to you guys tonight at the recommendation of Kevin and my fellow commissioner, Michael McCracken, who serves as our chair. In the event that perhaps our Public Safety and Traffic Commission would also like to spearhead or get involved, or the council at large. Certainly, I welcome your questions and thoughts, and definitely I would raise my hand in helping to see the initiative come to fruition. The benefits are many, not the least of which would be that, it fosters a sense of respect and, goodwill toward residents and each other, as well as bolster public trust among our law enforcement officers and such, and goodwill among them as well in our interactions with our various leadership. So thank you for your time, and I will welcome any thoughts or questions. Thank you.
Thank you. What I think you should do is take that idea, it seems to be a good one, and put it on the agenda for your commission and have your commission discuss it. And then perhaps after that, depending on what your commission does, see what the traffic commission does, and we'll take those two recommendations.
Okay, thank you very much.
Mr. Hawkins?
Kevin?
Mr. Adams, you see that as an appropriate pathway?
No, I think that's perfectly acceptable.
Beautiful. Thank you. Next speaker, please.
The final speaker is Marie Haida.
Good evening,
Good
Ms. Haida.
evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Marie Haida. I am an ambassador for One Legacy Donate Life. What I am here to ask of all of you and of the city of Temecula is to please, if you would, honor and proclaim the month of April Donate Life Month. There are 123,000 people in the United States waiting for an organ. 8 people die a day waiting for an organ. I am an ambassador that goes to cities. I go to DMVs. The DMV in Temecula is my DMV. I go to high schools. I go to fairs. I was in your city fair last year. I will go anywhere and everywhere to where people will listen to me about how important it is for people to get in the donor list. I myself am a living kidney donor. I am a donor family. My 12-year-old nephew died 8 years ago. I am also a bone recipient. They used donor bone when they fused 5 discs in my neck. I cannot tell how much important there is to what donation means to people. And if I can please ask you if you could please recognize the April month for Donor Month. I have got a flag that I would be willing to let you have to raise with the American flag and the city flag and the state flag. I have it with me. I can bring it back at another time if you would like to have a flag raising. I've got some information for you guys to have and to look through with backpacks. But if there's anything, if you guys can help me, please.
You know, your idea reminds me of a gentleman by the name of Tim Sweeney.
I did the Merck.
Right, who recently passed away from
Yes.
liver disease, and he
Yes.
was a staunch advocate, in fact, an amazing advocate for organ donation.
We did 2 events with him down at the Merck Theater. He was an amazing man.
Was an amazing man.
He really was.
What I'm going to ask you to do, because your cause is a very good one, if you can share the information that you have with the city clerk or city manager, they'll make sure it gets in the right hands, and they'll come up with a plan of action for your good cause.
And if any of you students out there, if you have a student teacher that you can give a hint to, who would get this? I go to the schools and I do your classes because the DMV won't let you go from the DMV window unless you check that donor box. If you don't check that donor box, yes or no, you don't get your license. So just a hint. So I thank you.
You're very welcome.
And you have a good evening.
And you have a good evening, too.
Bye-bye.
Any more public comment?
There are no more public
Well,
comments.
very good. Then we'll move to city council reports. Councilmember Ron, do you have anything?
No, I don't. Actually, I was in. I just wanted to update on just a couple of things. You know, we've been working on several initiatives in the city since I came on board, and yesterday spent most of my day in Sacramento and a good part of my evening in the airport, unfortunately. But I think successfully we've identified some great opportunities to work with the state and especially the university system to help develop new education programs within our city. So hopefully in the next month or so, we'll be working with Cal State and others to start rolling out some of the concepts with the city. So look forward to doing that.
Thank you. Councilmember Edwards, anything?
I just want to give a quick shout to the students. How many of you have filled out your FAFSA form? Very good. If you have not filled out a FAFSA form because you think you won't qualify for student aid, I would like you to think of FAFSA a different way. If you don't qualify for student aid, there are granting organizations that still use those FAFSA forms to find recipients for grants. And much to our surprise, our daughter, who went to University of San Diego, received a very large grant that we didn't even apply for because we filled out the FAFSA form. So if you have not filled out your FAFSA form because you think you won't qualify for student aid, then fill it out anyway, because you never know when you're going to get a grant. Somebody happened to be looking through the FAFSA forms when our daughter was enrolling for school, and she called me screaming one day on the phone saying, I got a huge scholarship. And I said, but we didn't apply for a scholarship. And she said they took it off the FAFSA form. And it ends up that her middle name is O'Toole, because that's our family name. And it was the O'Toole Foundation that gave her almost a $40,000 scholarship over 4 years, which we didn't even apply for. So fill out your FAFSA form. We're trying to do an initiative in Riverside County to get every student to fill out a FAFSA form. So if you haven't, because of those reasons, do it anyway. You may get a scholarship.
Thank you. And I just have two quick items. Last Wednesday, I believe it was, we cut the ribbon on our inclusive special needs park. I don't know how many of you here have seen that or been there, but quite a number of interesting things have occurred. It's packed, and it seems to be packed all the time. Yeah, nonstop with both special needs and non-special needs. And in one sense, that's exactly what we wanted to accomplish. Somebody at our I think you were standing next to me at the time, came up to us where all the kids were playing in the splash area and says, can you show us the special needs child? And we looked around and we said, no. And she smiled and said, that's the point. And fun is fun and happy's happy. But it's an interesting thing, and I just make this comment to you, Mr. Hawkins, and to our city management crew. It may be, you know, the typical population is using this and enjoying it. It may beg the question on how we start to do parks in the future. Maybe it's changing the mold and how we look at it. And I know we're planning on doing some things at Sam Hicks Park. We may want to incorporate some of these elements, because if this park stays crowded, we're going to need another one. So if you can just sort of put that on your radar screen. Pardon me? It was the fence that made the biggest difference. Let the public know what you're saying.
I think the comment we heard the most was that the play area is fenced. There's a fence, and it's huge. So the play area is huge. The play equipment is huge. What do you call the water?
Splash pad.
The splash pad. Right. And they were playing in the splash pad. The water was freezing cold, and they didn't care. Kids of every size and age were soaking wet. But parents commented that the biggest thing was the fence, so that their children couldn't escape.
Well, and I took my 9-year-old there twice now, pulled up a lawn chair, and he just went to town and stayed there about 2 hours.
Oh, awesome.
So it was wonderful. Good work on that ribbon cutting, and let's just see how this affects how we do playgrounds in the future. Second thing is, again, looks like a lot of things special needs. Circus Vargas is coming to town. Their opening night is this Thursday. Normally I wouldn't mention it, except the city council has declared that March the 12th is actually Circus Vargas. Is it month or day? I think it's their 2-week tour. So it's Circus Vargas 2-week tour. And why we did that is because this is the second annual event where they've come in and they've donated over 300 tickets to the special needs community. And that's at a value of about $6,000, and they typically do it opening night, but also throughout their engagement. And we just really appreciate them coming to town, donating those tickets. People get to go to the circus who would not otherwise get to go. And when you think about buying a ticket to the circus for 4 or 5 people, it starts to add up. So a big shout out to Circus Vargas. In all honesty, the best way to thank them is what? Go to the circus, exactly. So good shout out to Circus Vargas. Yeah, well, that's Ringling Brothers. That's Ringling Brothers. Right. Okay. I would put in a long-distance call to Mr. Comachero, but he's in China, so he's probably asleep right now, which means we'll move to the consent calendar. We have rules, so I'm going to read it. Notice to the public, all matters listed under the consent calendar are considered to be routine and will be enacted by one roll call vote. There will be no discussion of these items unless members of the City Council request specific items be removed from the consent calendar for separate action. Item 1 is waive, and by the way, young folks, the reason why we do this consent calendar is, there's a number of things that are routine in nature. If we spent time on each and every one of these, we'd be here for 4 hours. But they're so routine that we'll take one vote on them all, unless somebody wants to pull it and talk about it. That's why you'll see us go through all these. Item 1, waive reading of standard ordinance and resolutions. Item 2, approve the action minutes of February 24, 2015. Number 3, approve the list of demands. Those are the checks that the city writes. Item 4, approve the city treasurer's report as of January 31st, 2015. Item 5, authorize the mayor to send a letter of support in regards to Assembly Bill 288 Holden and a letter of opposition in regards to Assembly Bill 278 Hernandez. 6, approve an agreement with Buxton for an economic development retail recruitment report. 7, approve insurance brokerage services agreement with Arthur J. Gallagher and Company for the provision of insurance brokerage services. 8, adopt the 2012 City of Temecula Local Hazard Mitigation Plan annexed to the Riverside County Operational Area Multi-Jurisdictional Local Hazard Mitigation Plan. That was pretty good. Okay. And let's see here. And N9, approve an extension of performance dates in the schedule of performance for Phase 3 of the owner participation agreement that governs the Madera Vista project located at 44155 Margarita Road. Unless a member wants to pull something, I'll entertain a motion.
Move approval.
Second.
So that motion was made by, I keep wanting to call you Mayor Edwards. That was last year.
It was last
Councilmember Edwards, seconded by Councilmember Ron. You'll need to make the motion there. Atta girl. And then Mr. Ron, you need to second the motion.
Been
There
2
you go.
whole weeks, we forget.
There you go. Okay, we button pushing here.
Oh, man.
Matt, you need to,
Your finger's broken.
This was bound to happen.
it's not working?
No, I've adopted Councilman Roberts' propensity for electronics.
You're in his chair.
Okay. How would you like to proceed? Do you want a voice vote, or do you want to fix it? What's your pleasure?
A voice vote would be sufficient.
Okay, so we have a motion by Councilmember Edwards, seconded by Councilmember Ron. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? That motion passes 3-0. At this time, I'm going to, the City Council sits as various bodies. At this time, we're going to adjourn, or give me the word, guys, I'm short of the word, recess, thank you, the Temecula City Council meeting, and I'll turn it over to my colleague, Mary Ann Edwards, who will sit as Vice Chair of the Temecula Community Services District.
All right, I would like to call this meeting of the Temecula Community Services District to order, and could we have the roll call, please, just because?
Absolutely. Chair Nagar?
Here.
Actually, it would be Chair Edwards.
That's okay.
Member Ron
Here.
and Member Nagar.
Here.
All right. So do we have any public comments?
We do not.
We do not. All right then, moving down to the consent calendar. Notice to the public, all matters listed under consent calendar are considered to be routine and will be enacted by one roll call vote. There will be no discussion of these items unless members of the Temecula Community Services District request specific items be removed from the consent calendar for separate action. Item number 10, approve the action minutes of February 24th, 2015. Could I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second, and there's your buttons.
You better go voice vote.
You want to try it? Try it.
I could keep pushing these
There it
buttons
goes.
all night.
Try yours.
Hey, there it is. Look at that.
Hey. All right, that is unanimous with 3, with 1 absent. And anything, reports? Anything? Nothing? Nothing?
Move adjournment.
Second.
Wait,
Yeah, if we
Kevin,
could-
did you have your hand up?
Sorry.
Just real quick, I think I have a slide, quick. Well, by all accounts, this weekend was a huge success, the Rod Run. And as many of you know, a lot of planning, coordination goes into that, a lot of patience as well. And it was through the support of so many folks here, our Temecula residents, the City Council, the Commission, the OTTA, Public Works, Police, Fire, and all of our Rod Runners, as well as IT. We just simply want to thank you for all the support, for pulling it off. So that's all I have.
I think we'd be remiss if we didn't thank you and staff and everyone that had so much involvement with the Rod Run. And this year, it was bigger than ever this year, I think. Yes, it was. You still look tired, actually.
No, community services hit it out of the park.
Yeah.
They did a phenomenal job. All departments did, police and fire. I just want to echo what Mr. Hawkins said. This is a signature event. It has been. We're very proud of it, and you guys did a fantastic job this week in showcasing our city. So well done.
Yes, so thank you. Excellent. And with that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
And a second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
And CSD stands adjourned.
So now I'm going to reconvene the Temecula City Council meeting. We're going to go to the public hearing portion of our meeting. There's rules, so let me read them. Any person may submit written comments to the City Council before a public hearing, or may appear and be heard in support of or in opposition to the approval of the projects at the time of the hearing. If you challenge any of the projects in court, you may be limited to raising only those issues you or someone else raised at a public hearing or in written correspondence delivered to the city clerk at or prior to the public hearing. So we go to item 11 on the agenda. That's conduct proceedings to disestablish the existing Temecula Valley Tourism Business Improvement District established pursuant to the Property and Business Improvement Area Law of 1989. Now, I understand, Mr. City Manager.
Yeah. Mr. Mayor, due to my wife's employment with Visit Temecula, I'm going to recuse myself from the dais for this item.
Very good. And we need a staff report.
Thank you, Councilmember Nagar. Council members, this evening's public hearing is the final step in closing the books, if you will, on the original Temecula Valley Tourism Business Improvement District, or BID, formed under the 1989 law. The council's action to form a new BID at its February 10th meeting pursuant to the Parking and Business Improvement District Law of 1994 meant this original BID is no longer needed, as the new BID's assessment will replace the original assessment and continue to fund the marketing and promotions to increase tourism in the Temecula Valley, specifically benefiting lodging businesses located and operating within the city limits. This evening's public hearing is for the council to formally consider the adoption of the ordinance necessary to delete Chapter 3.4 of the city's municipal code, thereby disestablishing the original Temecula Valley Tourism BID originally formed in 2005. That concludes my report, and happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Are there any questions of staff? I don't see any questions. Did you have a question? Oh, okay, all right. I don't see any questions from my colleagues, so at this point, I'm going to open the public hearing. Do we have any requests to speak?
We do not. We do not have any speakers for this item, and the city clerk's office did not receive any correspondence for this particular public hearing.
Very good. So at this time, I'm now going to officially close the public hearing and ask my colleagues for a motion or a discussion.
Move approval.
And I'll second.
So we have a motion for approval by Councilmember Edwards, a second by Councilmember Run. Is there any further discussion?
No.
Please cast your
I
vote.
need to
Oh,
read the
you need to
title,
enter-
just real quick.
Yeah, go for it.
This is an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Temecula disestablishing the Temecula Valley Tourism Business Improvement District and amending the Temecula Municipal Code by deleting Chapter 3.40 in its entirety.
Please cast your vote. And that's 3-0 with the noted absences. Well, that's the last item on our agenda. We need, yes.
Council, I just wanted to let you know that we did not choose the word disestablishment. That is in the, that's in the statute, so we had to use that word.
Okay, very good.
It's a rather awkward one, so I didn't want to make sure we weren't blamed for that.
Okay, thanks. Do we have a city manager's report?
Just briefly, I wanted to, again, send a congratulations out to former Mayor Pro Tem Chuck Washington, now Supervisor Washington, and the question has been looming as to, well, what's next? And so I just wanted to put it out there as in terms of filling the vacancy here. This will be an agenda item that we will bring back to the City Council in 2 weeks to discuss the options associated with filling the vacancy left by Councilman Washington.
Thank you. Do we have a city attorney's report?
Nothing tonight.
Well, at that point, we'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move to adjourn, and I think we should say a fond farewell to former council member Chuck Washington, and congratulations.
And I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. We're adjourned.
Yay.